KUAM News Hotspot is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Hub. I'm Nestor DeCanto, and this week we're going to be talking trash, and I'm sure you two have never heard that witty reference before. I'm joined by Andrew Gale, who is the chairman of the Guam Solid Waste Authority, and Irv Slyke, who is the general manager. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Recently, about a week ago, I guess it was, a public hearing was heard on Senator Sabina Perez's bill, which would establish mandatory universal trash collection. And Andrew, let me start with you. And can you explain what that bill entails?
So sure, that bill really talks about an island-wide collection system where all eligible residents of Guam Solid Waste Authority would be given a bin, a trash bin, a 96-gallon trash bin, and would become customers of the Guam Solid Waste Authority. And we would collect trash from them, and we would bill them and collect trash from them. It's really not universal trash in that regard. Within the industry, universal collection means we're picking up all sorts of stuff. We're just talking about picking up municipal solid waste, which is what we currently pick up today, as well as the recycling bin. So we still want to try to continue with that program. So internally, we're going to be labeling it as an island-wide collection system, the island-wide collection program. We would be enrolling folks automatically who would again would be eligible for a Guam Solid Waste service, and those eligible would be single-family homes and any apartment units or condominiums that are 4 units or less, and they would be automatically put in the program, and then we would start billing them.
And Irv, you've got a lot of experience. You've been in this business for many years and in many different communities. And those communities typically manage their waste in this way, yeah?
That's correct. Most communities, since everybody generates refuse, and the community or their government is responsible for maintaining it in an environmentally sound manner, everybody contributes, so everybody actually pays for it, either through taxes or fees or whatnot, but that's the general rule.
Yeah. In your testimony during the public hearing, I noted that you had 3 challenges basically that you saw to implementing this island-wide waste collection program, and you said they are for those that don't produce that much waste. For example, say a couple that maybe eats out a lot, a busy couple eats out a lot, compared to a family of 5 or 6 kids. So they're paying the same amount as this family, and is that fair?
Some communities have volume-based billing. We're not. We need to learn to walk first before we run. So I think the mandatory, with everybody paying either the 2 rates, the full rate and then the reduced rate, is the first step forward. After that, if the community wants true volume-based billing based on how much they produce, that would be the next step. But it's too early, to try that right now.
Yeah.
Right. So Nestor, again, we're as a community, as a society, we need to decide, what are the associated costs that should be borne by the entire society, the entire community. Whether it's roads, whether it's streetlights, whether it's policing. Municipal solid waste should be one of those costs that is borne across the whole society.
Right. And in terms of economies of scale, you project that possibly a slight reduction in the fees?
Yeah, we've run the numbers, and it'll be confirmed through the PUC process. But what we're looking at right now is if we can make it mandatory, that increases our customer base. And we're looking at a fee of the normal fee reduced from 30 down to 27, and then the reduced rate for those that are disadvantaged or are eligible to be like $15 per month.
Yeah.
So if we remember this rate of $30 a month for residential service, this was established about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
More than 10 years ago. So there haven't been any changes since then. We have actually looking at, based on our current projections and our current expenses, current future obligations, of that rate going up. So by spreading our customer base across a wider number of households, and applying that distribute that more evenly, we think we can actually bring the rates down per household.
Yeah, and another challenge that Irv raised during the public hearing was for those people who can't afford it. And you're familiar with lifeline rates in your industry. You're also the COO of GTA. So what do you say about for people who can't afford $30 a month?
Well, One of the things that, as we talk to many different politicians and island leaders about this program, about implementing island-wide, some form of lifeline program, some form of customer assistance program, CAP, if you will, was important. So as we looked at that, we said, okay, then we can help with that, sustain that argument, help implement that plan. And one of the things that Irv and his team have looked at is like, how can we do that? How can we implement a customer assistance program, and what was our criteria? What was that criteria? And so my advice to Irv was to do it similar to the way the telecommunications industry did it, which was you establish some kind of need-based customer assistance. It's not across the board, it's needs-based. But we shouldn't have Guam Solid Waste Authority develop what that need is. Let's adopt a needs, the needs requirements, that those needs levels from some other program, whether it's like in the telecommunications industry, it's if you're a SNAP recipient, if you're a member of a Pell Grant, if you're free school lunches, if you're certain level of this, then you're eligible. And we're not going to be going through your tax returns to decide if you're eligible, right? Yeah, right. Well, if you're eligible for a program somewhere else, some type of social assistance program someplace else, well, then you would be eligible for this program. And we had proposed, what we're proposing is we would fund this customer assistance program initially with some savings that we think we might be getting due to the recent
Court settlement.
The recent court settlement that Governor Leon Guerrero has signed with the U.S. government regarding paying for a portion of the cost of the ORDOT dump.
Yeah, that's the Navy,
right.
The student with the Navy, right?
Right.
Okay. And the third one, Irvin, which I thought was interesting and more on a philosophical level, you said that many might think of this as government overreach. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So Guam's a perfect example. So if you were in the States, for example, in a state that's bordered by some other states, and you made it mandatory, we have other disposal options. You could go cross state lines because, again, they've ruled that trash is a commodity, so it can go freely across state lines. So there's other options. Guam has one disposal facility, and if people truly want to free themselves of the tyranny of the government telling them where to put their waste, there's not a lot of other options for them.
Right.
And quite frankly, $30 a month, it's a lot more in the States, and it's a community responsibility. Like, what else are you going to do with your waste?
One of the other benefits that we see from implementing this program is the alleviation, some type of remediation from illegal dumping.
Yeah.
Right. We don't think it'll solve it 100%, but if everybody is enrolled, if all households are enrolled in the Guam Solid Waste Authority and paying to be members of that service, then they'll have a bin. We'll provide a bin. We'll come to your house once a week, pick it up. Also, you also can avail of the other programs within Guam Solid Waste Authority, which includes bulky item pickup, which includes using transfer stations for household hazardous waste, for all those other things that are designed for paying ratepayers.
All right. We got to take a short break and want to talk a little bit more about the illegal dumping aspect and all other stuff related to this and how you're going to roll it out. But we'll take a short break and we'll be back with more of The Hub right after this. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Nestor Lecanto. I'm joined by Andrew Gale, who is the chairman of the Guam Solid Waste Authority, and Irv Slake, who is the general manager. And before the break, Andrew, we were talking about, and you brought up the fact that this could also be a benefit to the illegal dumping problem that we've had on this island for so many years that, the mayors bring up all the time. Can you elaborate on what on your thoughts prior to the break and how EPA is also taking this as a benefit for that? Because they're the ones that kind of...
Sure. Remember, Guam Solid Waste Authority, we're not in the enforcement division, right? We're the collection and disposal portion of that. But the thinking is that if every eligible household has a trash bin and it gets collected once a week, then there would be an alleviation on household trash that is dumped. If those same households avail of the bulky item waste pickup, then there could be a reduction in the white goods that are being dumped out there, or any of the electronic items that might be illegally dumped. So that's the concept, right? It's still going to take, and this is one of the things that was brought up by several of the legislators, some of the senators, was, look, public education, has to be an ongoing part of this program, and so we will factor that in, whether that's PS public service announcements, printed ads, radio ads, flyers, direct mailers, those types of things will have to be a part of this program in order for it to be successful. And so we're fully committed to making this program successful.
Yeah. Irv, another issue that came up was piggybacking. I wanted you to explain that and how this will help kind of alleviate that problem or issue.
Well, when I first got here, I looked at how you would implement island-wide. I looked at the typical waste generation profile for an island community of this sort of economic background, and it's about 2.4 pounds per person. And you take that versus the population, and you end up with like 97 or 98,000 tons, which is the amount that we put into Lejeune every year without a typhoon, but that's the normal amount. So that led me to believe that people were disposing most of their refuse, either in somebody else's bin or a commercial dumpster or some other manner, or maybe taking it to our transfer station. Somebody actually came up to me after the meeting about the illegal dumping and pointed out that this won't solve it. And, I looked at it like, yeah, there are bulk items illegally placed, but there's a significant amount of trash, because I just haven't seen any skinny pigs the 2 years that I've been here on Guam. They're not eating refrigerators. They're eating something, right? So.
Another issue that came up was the idea of multifamily homes, more than one family living in a single residence.
So multifamily dwellings are a whole different approach to managing their solid waste. One, normally they're constructed with very small refuse containers, etc. We don't have the equipment to actually pick that type of container up, and it would be a large expense to do that. Plus, you'd run into the competition, because most of the commercial haulers do that.
Yeah.
They don't do
their own
residential.
personal-
Right.
Yeah.
The other one for if you have a large family, it would fall within Guam Solid Waste Authority eligible households. It's a large home, maybe multi-generational, right, with extensions, etc. We do have options for additional bins, right? So there's a fee to pay for an additional bin. But these are 96-gallon bins. These are very large bins, much larger than most municipal solid waste programs have in typical communities in the U.S.
Most people in the States use 64 gallons.
Yeah. Another pushback, I guess you could call it, during the hearing was from one. He didn't really push back, but he did mention the fact that his preference had always been to just load his trash into his pickup and take it to the transfer station and pay $7.50 rather than paying the $30 monthly fee. So how do you respond to folks in that situation?
Well, like I said, as a community, we need to decide how we want to handle our municipal solid waste, and it should be borne across the entire community. I mean, that's my response there. Is like, sometimes a personal preference has to be overridden by the good for the greater amount of society. That's what it is. So that's how I would respond to that myself.
I talked to a gentleman who actually phoned me after the hearing, and had concerns because he's a transfer station user. And when we talked, it boiled down to what I saw happen in Connecticut and other places that I've worked at. The transfer station is sort of an opportunity for some members of the community to meet each other and throw their trash out and spend a little bit of time Saturday morning just being together. And
I'll meet you at the transfer station.
he was an elderly gentleman, and that was what he looked forward to. So he didn't want to see any of that impacted. So when we look at the whole program, I did mention in the hearing that operating the transfer station is more costly to GSWA than it is for us to send a truck down to pick stuff up. And I was hoping that people would, enjoy the convenience and less car trips from us just having our truck pick their waste up rather than them taking it to us. So, but I understand everybody has their thing. We do want to look at taking more bulk items from, because if you do the mandatory, everybody's a GSWA customer, so they're eligible for the bulk pickup. Curbside, what we'd like to do is reimagine the transfer station so they could actually bring those bulk items in.
Yeah, but under the universal or island-wide program that you're talking about, that would go away, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
What would go with?
No.
The 750,
No. It may not.
would they?
It may not. We're looking at that,
We're
yeah.
still,
Yeah.
yeah, we're still, that's a good question, Esther. As we're implementing this program, and we'll come up with the rules and regulations, which will have to go through public hearings and, through the whole administrative and adjudication process for any, government rules and regs. We're contemplating how we alter the role of the transfer station. So we have the Aggie transfer station, we have the Manolo transfer station, we have the one in Harmon, the household hazardous waste that also collects household hazardous waste and other items. So we would need to we'll get feedback from the stakeholders and the community about how we would continue to handle those things. But it would obviate the need for someone to pay $7.50 to come in and do a load of household trash if we're coming to his house and we've given him a card and he's picking up trash.
The last management audit that GSWA had, actually from MSW, that was presented to the PUC, actually had a recommendation that we consider closing the transfer stations just because they were a cost center that wasn't being recovered through fees.
Right.
Yeah.
So, with a very small amount of refuse that was collected.
Speaking of community feedback, just on, anecdotally, from what you both have heard, what has the response kind of been?
Well, so other places I've worked, past 38 years, if you talked about making something mandatory in the states that I worked in, like Virginia, Maryland, your phones would have been off the hook. There might have been pitchforks at your door. So haven't seen any of that yet. Hopefully never, but no.
Yeah. Andrew, have you gotten any feedback?
Yeah,
at all?
I've got a little feedback from some of our mutual friends that it was the same argument. Look, I don't generate that much trash. My empty nesters. I have relatives next door. We share a bin. It's like, and I say, and I go back with that argument. Look, as a society, we need to decide how we're going to handle municipal solid waste and how we're going to apply that across us as a community, in order to alleviate, to create a sanitary condition. Because remember, municipal solid waste if it is not properly collected, stored, collected and disposed of, it creates unsanitary conditions.
Yeah.
And we need to do something about illegal dumping, right? And we can argue that this is going to work, it's not going to work, but this is at least something that we can say we're going to attempt. This is it's common in every other community. When Irv mentioned this management audit that was performed after the receivership was ended for the operations side of Guam Solid Waste Authority, a third party consultant came in and handled a management audit, and that was one of the big recommendations. Is look, we surveyed 40 or 50 other municipalities, and you're like one of two that don't have this program in place. So that was one of the big recommendations.
Yeah, this was actually one of the top recommendations as to why don't you have a solid waste program. Okay, we're going to take one more break, and we'll be back with more of The Hub right after this. We're back with more of The Hub. We're talking to Andrew Gale, the chairman of the Guam Solid Waste Authority, and Irv Slag, the general manager. And so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. So you guys won't actually be sending out bills, right? You're using, as I understand it, GWA. Can you explain that?
No. We will be sending out bills.
Oh, you will be sending out.
We will be
Okay.
sending out. So currently, if you are a Guam Solid Waste Authority customer today, we send you a bill. Whether we send it electronically or via mail, we send you a bill. The arrangement that we have with the Guam Waterworks Authority is to share customer information.
Ah, I see.
So
Okay.
from that information, we will make determinations as to who is an eligible customer for Guam Solid Waste Authority, and then we will enroll them in our program. And through a process, we'll work out the process, deliver bins to them, figure out if they're not a customer
Right,
already,
okay.
deliver bins to them, and then they will be part of the program. And through that information that we get from Guam Waterworks Authority, we'll get their service address, the residential address, and their billing information. and they will become a customer of ours.
Yeah.
And so this will all be worked out, but that is the process. You will not see on either your GPA bill or your Guam Waterworks bill, you won't see a charge for Guam Waterworks Authority, Guam Solid Waste Authority. We'll be sending out our own bill. Now, we do have a program with both GPA and with GWA that if you want to pay your GSWA bill at one of their locations, they will collect the payment and they'll process that and give it to, and then we'll remit the payment to us.
Right.
I see, I misunderstood. I thought, so I understand that this is how you're going to find those customers who are not currently on your listing, but
Right.
are
Who would be eligible.
Right.
And then as part of the rules, as part of the regulations, we'll go through a process of that initial interchange, exchange of information, again, which is all part of the bill. And then there would be some kind of, periodic audit of, who's in, who's out, who's eligible, et cetera. These will all be, again, post passage of this bill as we have to work out all of those specific policies and procedures.
right. And Irv, so in preparation for the potential passage of this into law, so what do you need to do? You need to bring in more bins, more trucks, more personnel. Is this going to add to your monthly costs?
We've put together an RFP for the bins, so that's ready to go as soon as the legislature passes. The trucks, we have 6 of 10 already because they needed to be replaced regardless of whether island-wide went forward or not. The 4 additional trucks, we go hopefully to the PUC this Thursday for their approval, which will bring us to that 10 total I was talking about. And then, then it's just a matter of getting the customer base rollover, doing lots of public education, and starting the program probably the last quarter of 2025, probably in the least populated area, which is the southern part of the island first. And my experience is when you when you roll this program out, do it in stages. Don't try to do the entire island all at once.
You mean 2025 or 2024?
2020, end of 2024, if we can get the carts delivered on time.
Right.
That's a big if.
Yeah, and how many additional cars do you need, you say?
40,000 total.
40,000 additional cars.
Yeah, because remember, there's going to be carts for recycling carts as well as trash carts. We have about 22,000 enrolled customers today.
Right.
We think the number should be closer to 40.
Yeah. Do you foresee situations where, say, a house or a home is deep inside, far from the roadway and probably inaccessible to your garbage trucks, so they would have to bring it all the way out there? How does that going to be handled?
We have already a program for people that are disadvantaged or, have a long driveway. We will take a pickup truck or a small truck and go back and service the household. So that's something we do now and probably would do in that situation.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of homes would be in that situation, or?
Well, currently not that we know of today for the current 21,000. So.
Okay. All right, so where does this stand at this point? What is your understanding? I think you met with the governor on this, and the governor was supportive?
Absolutely. We had initially worked, when after this, the initial, management audit came out, we had started working on this through the governor's office originally. And I talked with members of the CCU, talked with, Miguel Berdalio over at Guam Waterworks Authority about this and rolling this out. And then Senator Perez, kind of jumped on and said, hey, because she is our oversight chair, and then kind of took over the process. And so we shared all of the work points to that. So we know the governor's supportive. We think we got support out of the legislature for the first public hearing. So the next step would be once the bill passes and the governor signs it into law, then we would need to start developing our rules and regulations, and do that concurrently with acquiring all of the necessary carts and making sure our trucks are on order. It takes 18 months to get new trucks.
The 4 trucks we're talking about, maybe awarding Thursday, won't be here until June of 2025.
Right, but we would start the program before then. Again, we'd have to go through getting the carts, distributing the carts, and then also establishing all the rules and regulations. So they go through the administrative and the AAA process, and establish all those. And remember, and that process includes publishing those rules and regulations for public comment.
Yeah, and so you would be coming up with the rules and regs, or another? Okay, you guys come up with the rules and regs, goes through the AAA, and then it gets passed by the legislature.
Yeah. We've recently put an RFP out, I think, this coming Monday for legal services to help us with that.
Okay, we only got about a minute or so left. I just want to give you guys final opportunity to reach out to the public and say, please support this and be prepared as we move toward this universal trash collection. Start with you, Andrew.
Yeah, right. So I think this is something that, like as I mentioned before, I think it's, as a society, as a community, we need to decide that this is one of the things that's important for us to have to maintain public health. And so in that vein, this is the first step, one of the first steps towards helping also resolve illegal dumping. Right. And again, I don't think it's the panacea solution, but I think we need to do something. We have lived on Guam for so long, and we need to stop having community trash pickup days, and we need to. So this is one step towards eliminating those illegal dumps that pop up there. Then I think we ought to do it.
Final word, Irv.
Well, I know it's a big step for the community, and I know it's putting a lot of responsibility on GSWA, and I've been here for a couple of years, and I know, and I apologize to those customers that we've hit your mailbox or we've missed your trash for a week or 2 weeks, but we are trying to improve that, and we will continue to improve. And so I hope that the community appreciates what we've done through the typhoon and how we responded. And we would just want to build on that and offer this service, which I think is essential and will help illegal dumping, that we can provide that.
All right. GSWA Chairman Andrew Gale and GSWA General Manager Irv Slyke. I'm Nestor Leconte. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week on The Hub.